All right, I would like to revisit something this morning and get Mo's take on the reaction to what we covered a couple of days ago. So let me explain this. So I don't go on our Facebook page.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's a toxic place sometimes. I just don't feel like being in a bad mood. Even if there's just one bad comment on there and there are 300 great ones, it's the one that I'm like, oh, I hate people. No.
Hey, a round of applause for Rebecca and Cassie, who have to read all the nasty stuff about us. Yay!
Yay, for sure.
Thank you.
So I didn't know that the conversation that I brought up a couple of days ago about Morgan Wallen had created quite a buzz on our Facebook page, right? Okay. So just to revisit this whole thing, Morgan Wallen is the biggest thing in country music right now. He just dropped an album that has like 36 songs on it. 10 of them are in the top 10. He's crossing over into the pop world also. In the country world, this dude is it. He is it, right? A couple of years ago, well, let me say this also. So as I'm online, it's kind of our job to know what's hot in music, what's going on in pop culture. So when I read that Morgan Wallen was doing so well, as a guy that doesn't listen to all that much country music, I'm like, well, I need to listen to this and be on top of it. So I listened to some of his music and dang, man, I really liked it, right? I'm listening to cut after cut after cut. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And as a casual country music fan, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give him a listen. And then I sort of had this epiphany moment, the hand to the forehead moment. Wait, why do I know that name? So I did a little digging on it, and this is the dude a couple of years ago that got in a lot of trouble for dropping the N-word when he was on the end of a 72-hour bender, and somebody recorded him saying this.
Hey, actually, hey, y'all too? Hey, take care of this. Oh, hey, Gracie, take care of this.
So that was a couple of years ago. Got in a lot of trouble for it with his record label. A lot of sponsors pulled out also. But the bottom line is, after that happened, his popularity soared.
It did. And to clarify, I mean, we're talking about, this was about a year and a half ago. So, I mean, this is somewhat recent that this happened.
So he apologized. He gave some money to interest groups also in this area, talked to some black leaders, and essentially he said, look, man, I was totally wrong. This was an environment that I grew up in back in the day. I was on the end of a 72-hour bender. I don't use that word. And when I was talking about it on the show, I said, I'm having mixed feelings about listening to his music, you know, because I don't want to support a racist if he is a racist. Or did he just throw that word out and just got caught? Is he really apologizing for it? So I asked Mo about it the other day also. And I just want to go over a couple of the comments on our social media page because I didn't know any of this was going on. And Mo and I had a conversation yesterday about it during this podcast, and I want him to sort of detail for us what we covered yesterday, right? All right. Debbie says the word is used so often by people of color as a term of friendship and mateship, and in songs, a lot of people see as that, not the original disgusting version. Another listener, and by the way, most of the comments on our Facebook page were sort of like, you know, it happened. It was an accident. Let's all get over it. Let's let the guy have his career.
I think it's important.
That comment, right? That comment of so because black people were oppressed by white people, there is no version of a white person using the word to black people that's not disgusting. Period. Mm-hmm. There is no version.
Let me just read a couple more comments.
And I think you need to specify if they're black or white too. Who's leading the comments?
I don't really know. Some of the I can't tell.
You can't. Okay.
It's funny how everyone that's perfect makes these comments. He was caught using a questionable word. He apologized. Forgive him or don't, but please let it go. If you turn on some radio stations and listen to the music, you'll hear the N-word multiple times. Should we cancel those artists and everyone who sings their songs?
I'll tell you right now, you turn on the radio, you're not going to hear that word.
Not once.
That is beeped out. Jenny says, Morgan Wallen just dropped 36 songs in a day in my state, sold out 2 stadium shows. Yeah, made a mistake, acknowledged it. Let's move on and enjoy the music. And there that's kind of a sample of most of the comments that were on our Facebook page. And when I was talking to Mo and Katie on his podcast yesterday, which is called In the Moment, I didn't know about those comments. I didn't know the percentage of what was going on. And we had a really pretty deep conversation about how you were feeling about those comments. And I didn't know anything that was going on.
So, yeah, I mean, the basis of what I was saying yesterday is, one, I think as a culture, we feel like if you were to offend other cultures in the way that you offend the black community, it wouldn't be a rollout for you to actually have even more success after you do it. Typically, you'd end up being canceled or you'd see some form of punishment. You wouldn't get your records played on the station still. Like, it just would be different. And on top of that, the thing that bothers me the most is when you get people who say, well, why can't we say the word? Or if I used it in private and I didn't use it towards a black person, then why is it still offensive? And I explained to Bert that, okay, as a black man, I asked Katie, have you ever in your life in private been around black people and then heard a black person use a slur term for another culture?
Any culture.
Any culture. She said no. I don't know one black person that has. Like, it's just weird to even want to do it. We have no desire to say a word that we know would offend another culture. So when you say things like, well, why can't we say it? Why do you want to? Like, I don't even know other slur terms. It's not even in my vocabulary. I wouldn't even seek it out to say it. So I think you should really ask yourself, instead of why can't we say it, why do you want to? What is at the bottom of you really wanting to go out your way and say this word, even in the privacy of your own home? It makes zero sense to me.
I don't think you could have explained it any better. Because, I mean, there's slurs for Jewish people, there's slurs for the LGBTQ community, and multiple cultures. So when you take it into that mind frame, that it makes total sense. Why in the world would you want to use it?
I don't understand the entitlement of like, well, if black people are using it, then why can't I use it if I'm a white person? There are so many words, right, in the English language. Why, when somebody says it's offensive to an entire culture, just pull the word if you understand it or not? Why can't people embrace that? I don't know that.
I really genuinely don't get it, and I wish somebody could logically answer that, but I don't think you can, and I think that's the issue.
So was it disheartening knowing that was going on the Facebook page and that many people, like, ultimately came to his defense?
Yes, it's disheartening because it almost feels impossible for you to not understand it. It just seems so simple to understand that when people go out their way to try to fight against it, it just shows that you just simply don't want to understand it. I don't think it's that you can't get it. You don't want to get it. And that's the problem that I feel is going on here.
Is it because, is it because, I'm speculating here, right? So a person who is coming to his defense, and obviously there's plenty of people because he's number one on the charts and
the biggest name in country music.
The biggest name in country music right now, that they don't want to view him as a racist because if they like him, then that makes them a racist.
I think so. I think that's a piece of it. And I even feel like I don't even think the most black people that I've heard speak to this, I don't think we're saying don't listen to him.
Yeah.
If you want to listen to him, fine. We really don't care. But don't try to make it seem as if he didn't do anything wrong and we have no reason to be offended so that you can listen to him.
So let me ask you this question then. Because a lot of the comments said this also, and you and I talked about this as well. He grows up in this environment in the middle of Tennessee somewhere. I'm making some of this up because I just don't know exactly the town or anything, but I do know this. It's a town of 1,200 people. It's in the middle of Tennessee somewhere, and I'm wondering if in that community maybe there's a Confederate flag here and a Confederate flag there, and he grew up in an environment where that word was used with other friends, right? Now, you can't. You just can't. You shouldn't, and he should know that. But he was a product of his environment. He used the word, got caught using the word, apologized for the word. A lot of people think the apology wasn't good enough, by the way. Can you move on from that? Or if you use that word and you are caught, that goes on your permanent record, you are a racist.
I think it depends. I genuinely do, because I think Justin Bieber is a great example of someone who got caught using the word once. And I don't think black people have anything against Justin Bieber anymore because of how we've seen him evolve over time. We realized that, okay, he was young, he made a mistake, but he is not at all against the black community. He took full accountability for it and he apologized. Whereas this guy more so said it happened because I was drunk. No, it didn't. It happened because the word is a part of your vocabulary, and that's why it came out.
And I grew up a lot in the small towns in Louisiana, and I was around people who used that word and they were racist about it. And I told them it wasn't acceptable, and I didn't want to hear it again. So I don't really buy that excuse of, oh, you grew up this way, people used it. Well, I grew up that way. I lived in a small town with actual racists. The secretary I worked with, her dad was in the KKK, and she boasted about it. And I still know that was disgusting. You never used that word, and I distanced myself from those people when I heard them use it. So that excuse doesn't really, I understand a little bit, but you know better. There's no way you can't know better. It doesn't fly.
That's the bottom line. You know better.
Here's Monica. Hey, Monica, good morning.
I'm saying the same thing. We go through life, we grow up, we learn that the behaviors we did when we were younger, okay, I get it. All the traumas we went through, we did that. Well, now we know better. It is no longer acceptable to walk through life and say, oh, I didn't know. That's the way I grew up. No way this man could be on stage saying that he's educated, knows how to run his business, his music industry, yada, yada, and know that what he did was, it was all right. I'm just saying, people need to stop acting like they didn't know. You know. If people say it's unacceptable, you need to accept it, move on, and let's keep doing business.
The Bert Show.
So first, thanks for watching. Second, you like what you just watched? That just scratches the surface. Get the Bert Show on any podcast platform. We're so good.